Hello everybody, I hope you're well. Today I'm going to be doing my January and February reading wrap up. When I came back to YouTube, I wanted to do a January wrap up and I thought it was probably a bit late. So instead I decided to park it and do a big January and February reading wrap up and combine the two together. Now I am filming in a slightly different format. I've got a hair that's bugging me on my face. I'm filming in a slightly different setup and format today, so I hope this is okay and I hope the angle is all right and everything. I still have a few videos pre-filmed with the old setup, so don't be alarmed if you see them coming through, but this is how I'm going to film from now on. This looks a lot better from what I can see. So let's get into the January and February reading wrap up. Let's start with January. I'm going to talk through the books in the order that I read them. So the first book that I read in January and the first book of 2022 was The Unhoneymooners by Christina Lauren. This was the first book that I'd read from this author duo. I really enjoyed this. I really enjoy an enemies to lovers romance trope. I have read a couple which are like bullies to lovers and I don't like those, but enemies to lovers I quite enjoy. This is about Olive. Her twin sister's getting married. Her twin sister, Amy, won her honeymoon and basically everyone at the wedding gets wiped out apart from Olive, who's the main character, the maid of honour, and the groom's brother, I think his name's Ethan, who Olive and Ethan don't get on. Everyone else bar them gets wiped out with quite serious food poisoning, and so Amy can't go on her honeymoon and her twin sister Olive goes in her stead because, like I say, it was a free gift. It was a prize that she won, so her twin sister can go in her place and think it's still her. I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed the enemies to lovers romance, and I just really enjoyed the story and the development of it all. And I'm really excited to read more from the Christina Lauren author duo, and I do have, I think, the Soulmate Equation on my TBR to read, and hopefully get to that soon. But really enjoyed it, and it was a really good start to the year because I read it like in a day and I really enjoyed it, so it was a great start. Unfortunately, the next book I read, The Siren by Kiera Cass, took me forever to read. I was kind of going through a bit of a reading identity crisis, and I've done a whole video about how my reading taste has changed and changing some of my attitudes towards my reading, which I think will be the next video up after this one. But basically, I don't know what I was doing. I kind of lost my little reading mojo a little bit, and this took me so long to read. I literally finished this on the 2nd of January and then didn't finish this until the 23rd. It literally took me like over 2 weeks to read this book, and it's 300 and something pages, not even 350 pages long. I don't know if it was this or if it was just the headspace that I was in, and there was a lot of other stuff going on. I was kind of looking at wedding venues and there was lots of other stuff going on kind of in the background. But something about this just didn't gel with. Really enjoyed the concept and enjoyed a lot of the aspects of this, but just didn't love this as much as The Selection. I read The Selection this sort of time last year with Daisy. We buddy read it and we absolutely flew through it. We really enjoyed it, and I was really looking forward to this, and maybe that's part of the reason as well. I was really looking forward to it and I kind of felt a little bit let down by it. But I am still thinking of adding some more Kiera Cass to my TBR. So I think The Betrothed, I don't know how many books are out in that series or how many books are planned, but I do plan on potentially picking that up because really enjoyed The Selection and found it, yes, okay, it wasn't the best books I've ever read, but I feel like this has kind of let the side down a little bit for Kiera. So I'm kind of like, feel like I need to read something else to pick it back up. So yeah. The next book that I read, I don't physically have anymore because it's part of the Daisy and B Travelling Book Club. So for any of you that don't know, I run an online book club on Facebook called the Daisy and B Book Club, and we do a travelling book club. So we have a selection of books that are out in the public for everybody to read. They're out all across the country, which is so amazing. And I had my turn on Lucy in the Sky by Paige Toon. Now, Daisy always raves about Paige Toon, and I see a lot of Paige Toon kind of content, like people talking about her books on Instagram and on Facebook book groups that I'm part of as well. I have read One Page Toon before. I've read Chasing Daisy and I really enjoyed that. I loved it because I'm a big motorsport fan, so that was like, I really liked that one. That's why I read that one. If you don't know, Chasing Daisy is about a girl that works in hospitality, kind of behind the scenes in Formula One. So I really enjoyed it. But I haven't read anything else by Page Toon, and this is the first book that I believe she published, or this is kind of like there's a suggested reading order because some of the characters kind of like do come up again further along the line, and it kind of does all sort of link in a sort of spiderwebby sort of way. So I really enjoyed Lucy in the Sky, really enjoyed the concept of it. Really, I was just like rooting for the characters, and it was a real good pick me up after the Siren, because it took me ages to read this, and then I think I literally read Lucy in the Sky in like 2 days, if that. I think I'd finished that by the 25th of the month. So what I needed, a bit of a refresh after, and I think I talk about it more in the My Reading Tastes Have Changed video that I filmed that will be up after this. But I think it was what I needed to kind of cement enjoying this and then enjoying another kind of contemporary romance. It kind of cemented a few things. So watch that video when that comes up, because that's quite interesting. And then the next book that I read in January was House of Earth and Blood, Crescent City, book 1. I was really glad that I managed to get this in. I was listening to this on audiobooks, as kind of like this sort of fell throughout a couple of weeks in the month. But I really enjoyed my reread. It was really interesting to reread it, pick up on other things, refresh myself on the story, and fall in love with it all over again. I really love the Crescent City world. This is, I think, really good for people that maybe haven't read a lot of fantasy, because this is an urban fantasy. It's a little bit more, don't get me wrong, the first sort of like 200 pages in this are quite like world buildy and quite dense to get through and quite slow, but once you get past that, this world I think is a little bit more accessible for maybe non or fantasy readers, people that don't normally read fantasy, because it's urban fantasy. There's lots of things that you will recognise that's the same as the world that we live in, but still enough kind of complexity and intrigue there from the fantastical elements that it's still quite nice to read. I really enjoyed this. I really enjoyed my reread, and it was just like so good to get it done in time before the second book came out in February. So enjoyed that. And then I read the final book in January was Come Tumbling Down by Shauna Maguire. This is part of the Wayward Children series. And what book is this in the series? Fifth. This is the 5th book. I'll be honest, I probably can't remember an awful lot that happened in these. These are super short, and I've made the decision now that I am not going to continue on my reading of this series. I enjoy them to a degree, but I always find that the brevity in these, by them being so short. So I think in some respects, I've only been reading them because they're shorter books and they're quicker to get through. So it adds to my Goodreads goal, but I'm not really enjoying them. And they're really expensive for what they are. Like, obviously I know they're hardbacks, but they've been really expensive for me to pick up and read. So maybe if I come across one in a charity shop or in a library, I might continue. But I'm not kind of invested enough in the series. For anyone that doesn't know, the Wayward Children series is about, I nearly hit myself in the face with that, did you see? The Wayward Children series is about a school. It's about a school for wayward children, and it's 4 children that have disappeared, gone through doorways, and have come back to their birth world, which is Earth as we know it, like the world as we know it. They've come back and they are maybe not integrating back into day-to-day life as they should do, and there's this special school for them, basically so that they can take children off parents' hands that are like, my child is not normal anymore. They come from all of these children come from extremely different worlds, and we don't really get many that kind of cross over. There are different types of worlds, portal worlds, but and some are more similar to others, but there's quite a lot of worlds in this, and I just am not compelled to pick up the next one. I believe this one was oh no, I did buy this one. I did buy this one myself, but I mean, this was £16, Not that I'm trying to like devalue the book, but there's not a lot to it. Anyway, so that wrapped up my January read. So I read 5 books in January, and I felt like I had an okay reading month. Obviously, massively enjoyed the 2 kind of contemporary romances that I read, and really enjoyed Crescent City, but feel like the Siren kind of created a fug over my kind of general reading month. So let's go into the February's. I'm just turning the page over in my reading journal so that I can keep track of what I'm talking about. So the first book I read in February was Meet Me in London by Georgia Toffolo. I can't remember whether I was very kindly gifted this as a Christmas gift from Lisa from Bound by Books on Instagram. This is part of the gift giving Christmas wish list group that I was in, and I have had these on my wish list for a little while, and I believe these books went down to £2, so they were really inexpensive gifts to buy for people, but still give them a really good book. I buddy read this, and I've been buddy reading the whole series with Daisy and really enjoying these. This one is about Victoria. This book starts a series of what has been, we're currently waiting for the 4th one to be released in April. I'm not quite sure whether we'll get more than that or whether we'll get something different from Georgia Toffolo. I'm not sure. But this one is about Victoria. She lives in London. She's an aspiring, what would you call her? Clothes designer. A designer. There we go. Words are hard. And it basically details her story of meeting somebody, falling in love and whatnot. But the key thing with Victoria is that she is part of a friendship group of 4 girls. She's one of 4 girls, ladies, women, people, and they're a really, really tight-knit group, and they all kind of share a kind of key event that happened in their lives that's all shaped their lives going forward. And what was really interesting about this was that this wasn't just a soppy lovey-dovey romance. It had some kind of like grit to it and some reality to it as well, which I enjoyed reading about, and it just kind of makes these sorts of stories a little bit more realistic and a little bit more 3-dimensional and just kind of like real life. Really enjoyed this, really enjoyed this, and I've been enjoying the rest of the series, and I can't wait to see what the final installment is like as well. I'm intrigued to see where it's going to go and how it all kind of ties everything all in together. But yes, enjoyed this. Great start to February. And I feel like February, by the way, was just an amazing reading month, just to say that now. I then read The Man Who Died Twice by Richard Osman. Feel like I haven't shut up about these books because they're amazing. They're amazing. And I really loved this installment. It was lovely. It was just like a warm hug, like I kind of talked about before. I loved this one, this mystery that we're kind of like dealing with, this murder mystery that we're dealing with. I read this for the Daisy and Bee Book Club prompt to read a mystery, and I really enjoyed it. Really enjoyed it, and I can't wait for the next installment. I'm not going to talk too much about it because I don't want to give, as it's second in a series, but the characters just kind of grow so much more. One of the characters, Ibrahim, I kind of really feel for in this one and pulls at my heartstrings, feels like a warm hug. And like I said in another video, I just want to go and have a coffee or a tea, cup of tea. They all drink tea, but I'd have coffee, and join a session of their Thursday murder club. I think that would be pretty epic. Loved that, and highly recommend the Thursday Murder Club and The Man Who Died Twice. The book title for the 3rd one has just been released, and I can't for the life of me think what it's called. I've got it written down here. The Bullet That Missed. Intrigued. And then obviously the big deal of February, I read House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. Unfortunately, I got COVID for a second time. Sorry if you don't like talking about COVID. Neither do I really anymore. It's been a couple of years, hasn't it? House of Sky and Breath by Sarah J. Maas. Crescent City book 2. I don't even know where to start about this. I've done a whole video that's here on my channel full of spoilers. don't go and watch it if you haven't read it, because I really think you should read it for yourself and then watch that afterwards. Obviously read House of Earth and Blood first. This was amazing. This was an amazing sequel. I am so like excited for the next one already. So much happened in this. So many characters. We got more voices, and it was just, it was like a perfect sequel in my opinion. And it's left me, I hope this isn't too spoilery, but it's left me completely like unsure of where it's going to go. I'm like, okay, what's going to happen now? And I'm just like, I like books like that are completely like taking the rug from under my feet and like, oh my God, what's happening now? So unpredictable. I really loved this. Loved the relationships and the friendships and the kind of family dynamics in this. And the idea of found family is really important in this series. And Crescent City 3 needs to come out now. The next book, I mean, that had like pretty big shoes to fill after finishing that, I have to admit. And I was in a bit of a funk for a while. But after I finished House of Sky and Breath, I took a day or two, and then I picked up and read Meet Me in Hawaii by George Toffolo, which is the second book to the Meet Me in London series. Again, I buddy read this with Daisy. I still got my tabs in it. I've got these magnetic bookmark tabs, which are really good for buddy reading because you've got like your daily section. I'm sorry if you can hear my washing machine in the background. I'm making use of my afternoon off today and getting a load of laundry done. I really enjoyed this. Marley is the main character in this one. Like I said, each book follows on a different friend in the friendship group. Marley's, I don't think, quite such a likeable character. She's definitely got a kind of interesting attitude, but really enjoyed her story, enjoyed the setting. Like, I felt like I was in Hawaii surfing with them, like, and Marley was pretty badass, but I really enjoyed it. I just still really enjoyed it and enjoyed the romance. And there's a particular character in this called Tara. This is basically about a surf school, really, that brings children that have maybe had hardship in their lives. It's kind of a bit of a rehabilitation program, and they come and they learn to surf, and it's all part of their like sort of therapy as such. It's all part of their I don't know what the right word is, but it's all part of their character building, really, and helping them to for their futures, really. Like I said, they've all gone through hardship, so they've all got different things that they're battling, but the key thing is that this is all about growth and moving on and getting better. There's this one character, one of the girls, the girls that goes to the school, one of the kids, her name's Tara, and she's a total badass, and I loved her character. I want a whole book, I want a whole spin-off series on Tara, because she was pretty good. And I really enjoyed this, really enjoyed this. And then somehow I managed to finish The Shadow Sister by Lucinda Riley. Once I'd done with these 1, 2, 3, 4 books, I decided that I wanted to try and crack down on my currently reading on Goodreads. There's several books that I've picked up, started, got partway through, like this one, and then put down for something else and haven't finished. And I wanted to get my currently reading down because it always stresses me out when I've got too many books that I've kind of like parked and not gone back to. So this was one of them. I'm really enjoying the this is part of the Seven Sisters. This is the third book in the Seven Sisters series by Lucinda Riley. They're quite big. The rest of them are up here by my Sophie bear. That bear says Sophie on it. I am starting to feel a little bit burnt out with them, and I'm glad that this one I left a bit longer between finishing the second one, because they are all quite similar like structures. We follow 7 sisters, and each sister has been adopted by Parsalt, who is their father figure. And basically at the beginning of the first book, he dies and he leaves them all instructions and kind of like letters and coordinates to do with where they came from. and their history. And in each one, you kind of have a current day timeline of the sister kind of finding out about her past. But then because she's finding out, we then get a kind of second timeline, which is back in time, of some of the events of her ancestors actually unfolding, which has been really interesting because they've all been set in very different places and in very different sort of walks of life. The first book is set in, I want to say Brazil. So you get like a historical Brazilian, but also a current day Brazilian because the character goes to Brazil. And this one was probably probably got into the point where I'm starting to feel I'm glad I took the gap between the second one. I can't remember what the name is of the second one, and it's covered up, I can't see it. And this one, I can find it in the back of the book. The Storm Sister. I'm glad I took a bit of a break between them. Still really enjoy the series and still really enjoy the concept and still really intrigued to hear about all the sisters. But I'm definitely going to be parking the series for a little bit now and having a bit of a break from it. Just so that when I go back to it, I'm a bit more refreshed and I can enjoy it for what it is. But what is really interesting is that each book seems to do the same thing. The last chapter, or maybe it's the epilogue, is then in the perspective of the next sisters book that you're going to get, obviously following through all the sisters. So I'm intrigued after that to see how the next one is going to go. And then, literally down to like a few hours, I managed to finish The Magpie Society by Zoe Sugg and Amy McCullough, One for Sorrow. So this was the second book I read for the theme murder mystery for the book club. I wanted to try and get a couple read, and I'm really glad that I got both of the ones I had earmarked read, only just for this one. There was something about this that I didn't like. I have read Truly Devious by Maureen Johnson. I've read the first 3 books. I'll be honest, I haven't read the 4th because I thought it was going to be a trilogy, but then a 4th book came out. I still have that to read, and I will read that soon. And I feel like that was maybe executed slightly better. This book is about a school called Illumin Hall. It's set in the like English coast, and it's quite a like an old building, like proper like English boarding school vibes. We follow 2 characters, Ivy and oh my gosh, I can't remember, Audrey. And Audrey is an American student. She's just come over from America. You get right from the beginning a kind of feel that something maybe has gone on in America, which is why her family have kind of they've made the move back over, not back over, but over to this country. So she's a bit of a kind of fish out of water, and it's really interesting to see both perspectives, Audrey's and Ivy's. But there's just something about this that I didn't enjoy. It fell flat for me in places. It felt a bit flat. It felt a bit, didn't have a great flow to it, and there's bits of it that I thought just weren't executed great. And then within the last like 50 pages, loads of stuff happened, and I just didn't feel like it was very genuine in a funny sort of way. I don't know. I'm kind of really tempted to read the second book. However, I'm going to let Daisy be my guinea pig because she's read this recently, and she's got Two for Joy on her TBR, and I'm going to let Daisy be my guinea pig because she says she wants to read it soon because she doesn't want to forget what's happened in this one. She wants to read them close to each other because I don't want to give away spoilers, but there's still stuff that we're not sure of at the end of the book, and still stuff that's kind of like going to roll into the second book. So I'm going to let her be my guinea pig, and then depending on what she says, I may well read the second one. But this hasn't compelled me enough to read the second one. Like, I wouldn't, if I didn't know anybody that was reading it, I wouldn't go out and buy it and read it. I wouldn't bother. There is a little part of me that's annoyed that certain things didn't get resolved, and I'm kind of like, oh, like, I kind of want to know, but is it worth it? I don't know. It was quite a quick read, and there were aspects of it that were really enjoyable, and I really enjoy the concept of this. We have like this idea of like a secret society, which I really enjoy, but I just don't think it was executed the best. So, unfortunate ending on a not great note, but I managed to read 6 books in February. Yeah, I did count that right. And I'm really, really pleased with my reading month overall in February. And I feel like it's a great first start to the year. January and February have both been, like, I've read some really good books, really enjoyed, and I feel like I've had a real good mix as well. Some historical fiction, some contemporary romance, but also some fantasy as well. So I've really enjoyed my reading, and I feel like I've proper got my reading mojo back. I'm super, super excited for the month going ahead with all my reading plans, and yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. Really, really looking forward to the months ahead. And like I say, solid start for the year. Great first couple of months, reading months for 2022. I hope it continues. So I'd love to hear about what you've read in January and February. Did you read anything that was a real big standout for you? Or did you read something that was maybe a little bit disappointing, expecting more from? I'd love to hear about what you've been reading down below in the comments. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next video. Bye!